There it is, gang. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Sunday Night Teacher Talk. And yeah, I'm just thrilled that you're here. I love Sunday Night Teacher Talk. And that was a strong introduction. I felt like right there. Good job.
Good job, you.
I didn't plan that. That was off the top of my head. Gosh, what a week. I know a lot of people started school back this week. My son is very much looking forward to having a full week of school because he started a little bit late in the year and then only had 4 days last week. He's looking forward to running the Monday through Friday schedule, which is funny because my daughter's not looking forward to going to school at all.
That's what happens when you've been homeschooled for like 4 years. He's like, I love school. I can't wait to go.
Yeah. I've had to learn physics this week, though. And when we had children, no one told me I was going to have to learn how to do schoolwork so that I could help them. So
I know, because I forget a lot of
You're
that
really
now.
learning algebra. I'm learning physics lately.
I'm reviewing algebra. I'm not straight
That
through
show
it.
laughed at me this week. She was like, you're doing physics? I said, bro, I don't want to be doing physics. So anyway, that has been real life here. If you're in Kansas, I'll be in Manhattan, Kansas this week, speaking at the Eisenhower Middle School. I'm thrilled to be there. I'm especially excited to go because Dave Martinez is a teacher, a principal that is in the same documentary that I was in. And he is incredible. If any of you saw the documentary, which is available for free online, it's called Revive. Dave is the principal that got rid of his desk and just has a cart. And this has become kind of a thing on Instagram, but like Dave is out there doing it before people were doing it. And is just an incredible leader. Dave is one of those guys that, man, strong culture is so rooted in strong leadership. It's not, you can't not you can still have good culture without good leadership, but that is that's pulling it up out of the mud. You have to have really strong relationships with the people you're around, but to have strong leadership, man, it just makes it feel effortless. And I think that's what I'm really excited to go. He talked about like how little turnover they have, how people have been there for ages.
Yeah, that's so awesome.
The average teacher has at least 13 years of teaching experience in their school. And so that's crazy, but I love it. So I'm really excited to go hang out with those guys this week. So yeah, I'll be and then look, if your school's looking for someone, hit me up. If you don't know how to write the email, if you're not even sure how to broach the subject with your principal, connect with me and we'll figure it out together.
We'll take care of it for you. We've got templates for all that stuff.
Templates upon templates. All right. Got some questions for me?
Yes.
Gang, if you're new here, real quick, if you have a question, just put Q in front of it or the word question. That typically happens, but I don't want to pretend that there's no one like new or that everyone knows what they're doing, right? So like you're brand new.
That helps me find the questions in the chat because there's so much other chatting going on and connecting from week to week, which is awesome. And other teachers helping each other. Yeah, it helps me to find the ones that are for him.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that listen to this as part of a podcast as well. So if you ever don't want your name said, like it's gonna pop up when you're on video, but if you don't want me to say your name, that's fine.
Anonymous.
Yeah, sometimes people say that too, and that's fine.
Okay, Ruth Akers is up first. This is a funny one to me. She says, how is your website for buying items going? I love teaching as a calling stickers, and I know you have a great response. If I email you, just wondering if you have an online store set up.
So we have an online store. Is it available for people to just like click on? Not really.
Well, it is actually on Instagram. You'll see it says there's a little button that says shop, and you can hit that and find it and find things there and purchase it there. But we are trying to hook it up so people can see it on YouTube and like through Google, but something is wrong with our Google Merchant store and it's taking a long time to
We don't know how to fix it.
We don't know how to fix it. We have someone that can help us fix it, but it's like, I need to dedicate a whole day to doing that. And man, with school starting with our own kids and him speaking so much, there hasn't been a day to like sit down and actually coordinate, and that man's busy. That's going to help us. So it's like, it's on our to-do list, but it's there. If you want to look at it, it's the best way to get to it is through Instagram on the shop button, but it's coming. We're going to try and get there and get it fixed, Ruth. But if you have anything that you want us to make, we have all the things to make the things. Hit us up in an email. We can do it that way too.
Yeah.
Actually, I am doing that for someone else.
I know.
For penance, I'm making.
I'll tell you, pennants are like
the thing right now
in the ecosystem of the world right now. Like Target has pennants, like everybody is
So
on
I have a
the
couple that I'm
pennants all of a
designing for
sudden.
someone like outside of the 2 that we offer. He had requested like 3 other designs. I was like, oh yeah, I can make them. So
Yeah. So hit us up. Let us know.
it's coming. It's
I
coming.
love pennants. Pennants remind me of when I was a kid.
They do. I like
I always
too.
had them
They're
for
really fun.
sports. I had them all around my room. I had them for the circus.
Okay, this guy's name is great. Science is rad. AF is asking, I'm an environmental educator.
I love it.
Think place-based ecosystem field trips and helping kids raise salmon in their school.
Hold on. First, yeah, regular stuff. You know, it's like out there raising salmon in your school.
My degree.
I love it. This is awesome.
My degree is in science. I've decided to get my master's in teaching to teach
Middle school science.
Middle school science. What can I do during this next 18 months to better prepare me for the transition to a classroom?
That's awesome. So one, I'm going to plug my friend's book, Becky
Yeah,
Schneckser.
yeah.
If you do not have her book, it's called Expedition Science. She is one of the most radical teachers, and I don't mean like bro radical. I mean, even I'm not against that, but she is a radical teacher and is awesome. She was the head teacher at Pharrell Williams has a school, charter school, and she was like their lead science teacher, and became friends with that family. She is awesome. Expedition Science. It's on Amazon. It is awesome. I think go ahead.
What makes her special though, like for real, is that she just teaches through hands-on. Like most of her stuff is like
she talks about her
not
students
just
are
out of
scientists. That's what
yes,
she says.
and I love that phrase. It's not just out of the textbook. Like we're not just reading the textbook and like doing
and
questions.
answering the questions in the back, right? She's like, we're doing science. We're not reading science. Now, of course, there's going to be some things in there that you are either required to do or whatever, but
she breaks that down in her book.
Yeah, she's excellent. I would say the 2 areas that I would really think about that are going to give you the biggest ROI are, there's a few things. One is you have to figure out ways to start interacting with young people now. Middle school is a tough grade. There's a level of apathy in there. There's hormones and not really knowing what to do with them. It is learning about what it means to be that age. And would you mind actually grabbing that book? Is that a problem for me to ask you that? I can even switch this camera too.
What book am I grabbing?
The orange one. So reading about that age. So a book that I'm rereading right now, I've read it a bunch of times, is specifically about boys, but I taught at an all boys school. The Parent's Guide to Boys by Abigail Norfleet James, right? So you can find a ton of videos on her. She also makes there's books about teaching girls as well, but this stood out to me. And she is one of the 3 professional developments that were ever worth anything at my school. Everything else was horrible.
Yes.
Would you lose?
Nothing.
Okay. So anyway, reading about that age, I would get super familiar, not just reading about education. Reading about, or not reading about, getting engaged with kids. Is there an after school program? Can you volunteer somewhere? Can you go to your local school and do tutoring after school? Because it's going to be that connection piece. Because look, it's nerve-wracking enough to start the year, but when you can connect with young people and know you can do it, I think that's the shift for teachers. I never had a year that was flawless. I never had a year that like no one acted up in the beginning of the year and I just cruised in and was like running things like I was the Fonz or something. Like that never happened. The shift was, we got another one of, like, we have an Aaron again, or a Bryce or a Tim. I can roll with that. Because I knew what I was going to do. It wasn't that the difference was curveball still came. I just knew how to hit a curveball now. That's it. Right. Like, and so that that was the shift. So getting in front of those kids, I think building up you figuring out what gives you life, and then like having a plan for that during the year. How are you going to make sure that you have life-giving activities in your life to be able to sustain you through the difficult days? That's another thing. And then I think I would look at how are you going to make experiences. So it looks like that's really kind of your specialty now anyway, but how are you not just teaching content? How are you going to teach? And I was learning about this weekend. How are you not teaching content, just content, but how are you doing it through connection? How are you connecting kids? So instead of reading about magnets, instead of reading about the life cycle of something, can we bring it in? Can I like, so what I remember very few things from the first grade. Miss McCartney we had a incubator thing. She had eggs in there that she was like, we were watching them grow each day, and then hopefully they were going to become birds of some sort. And they never did. They all died. But it was, it was heartbreaking. But I remember we had an ostrich egg in there. And the idea, first grade me is like, yo, what are we going to do? Like, so we're going to have this ostrich. Like, where's it staying in the room? Are we just going to will it participate in recess with us? Like, but it made you like come to school every day and you're like, yo, got to check on the eggs. She would hold them up to a light and you could see the birds like developing in there. It's incredible. But we could have read that. There's probably a great documentary on it. We probably could have looked at some really wonderful pictures about it and stuff, but it was different. The novelty was in the thing. How are you going to create novelty in your school? And how are you going to create connection points for your students that are in the physical world and not just virtual or through a PowerPoint or something like that?
So they said in other comments that I was reading that they are a middle school parent also. So like that is great that you have that sort of connection already, and you can kind of use what your kids are into or to know like what's happening around the world as a point of like learning how am I going to connect this weird thing that my kids are into or other middle school kids are into? How am I going to connect that to my lesson?
Yes, absolutely. Brilliant.
Okay.
Hey, thanks for that question. That was a great question.
Ready for the next one?
Yes.
I wasn't paying attention, or I was looking at other stuff.
Take your time. I'm going to drink some of this water.
All right, I got one. All right, I give a quiz every Friday to all my classes. Spanish. I'm having problems with letting the students make mistakes. I am helping them during the test and using this time as instruction. Let's see if there's any other.
So there's, I think that was it because I saw that. All right. So I know I've seen you on here before. I want to say that your name is Zamina. Maybe.
It looks right to me.
I apologize if I'm wrong. Here's my view on this. You can either, at some point, there has to be a level of assessment that we're really checking for understanding, that we're really trying to see where kids are. And so they're going to have to be able to do this at some point, right? Like, so something in your school, there's going to be a final, a test, a unit test, whatever. I don't think that coaching them through it is bad, but I would say either can you do a pre-test that you're coaching kids through, or if I help you, you have to do the retest. So that's maybe how I would run this. So on a Friday, if I'm giving an assessment every Friday, I'm also giving Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday of next week to retake the test. Students can only take it one time. I've actually never had anyone ask me to take it more than once. I think I would probably be all right with that because I'm checking for understanding. Like, I want to make sure that you're mastering stuff. I'm not interested in the reason I needed to do it now is because I need to build off of this in the future, right? And so that's I'm sure in Spanish, that's the same thing that's happening in your class. But if I help you, then you have to retake it. And so if you don't want to do that, I would say giving them the assessment, letting them see what they got, going over what they got, right? So maybe I would do an assessment earlier in the week. I would do it on like a Wednesday, go over it Thursday or Friday, offer after school tutoring or something like that. And then they can retake it the following week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, on their own time. Doing that is allowing kids to fail, but really letting that give a picture. So what they're not doing is they're not just failing, right? Like if you fail, that's your choice. Because you're failing, I'm offering opportunities to get better, to see what you did wrong, to see the right and wrong in that, to see what you did right, and then just reassess the following week. That's where I think I would go with that, because it's allowing kids the opportunity to fail, but then to learn from their mistakes and then to retry again. And that is what I really want my students to do, is to grow in that, right? And to get better in that. That's probably where I would go with that. The other thing is letting parents know that this is the opportunity. Kids are not going to tell their parents. So letting them know, hey, look, we take assessments on Wednesday. I'll have those graded by Friday. If they want to stay after school or come in during lunch or come in during my tutoring program or whatever, we'll do it. It's super fun and interactive. We make it like this, like a great vibe in there. And then they can just retake Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, following week on their own time. Like stuff like that, I want to make sure that they do. You're going to ask a question real quick because I know you got bread in the oven or something
I do.
like that.
My bread is done. I just need to text the kids to take it out. Okay, Miss Robinson is up next asking, what is the best way to do a tutorial day after taking a test? We do standard-based grading, and students get multiple attempts at similar versions of the test. Took the first attempt on Friday.
Awesome question. I think for me, it's how do we make it fun? And let me talk about why I think that's important. Going over the answers and just giving kids the right answer is so boring. And you're going to lose everybody if you do it. You're going to have some kids that are going to do it, right? Because they just love school and they want to get it right, or they have really strict parents, or they hold themselves to a high degree, or they're just built for school. They're built for regular school. Most students are not, right? And so when we have kids that's not going to be their go-to, it's how can I gamify this? How can I come up with a fun way to review this? How can I get kids to, here's a tip that I use often. I do this with my son. I was actually doing it with my daughter the other night when we were studying for history. And look, this doesn't have to be earth-shattering, right? This could be, we're going to use Quizlet. We're going to use Kahoot. We're going to use any number of online like testing programs. I am always looking for something that no one else is using. So I stopped using Kahoot because the whole school was using it. And it was like, oh my gosh, this is so boring. Or I made my Kahoot different. I don't play Kahoot music. I play my own music. I have my own sound effects for things. When I have all these different buttons in front of me, or I use sound effects on the internet, I do my own stuff. I make it sound like it's going to be like a game show that we're on or something like that. Like I have a microphone, I'm walking around. I'm creating a bit more of an atmosphere instead of just letting the thing do the thing for me. If you think about Jeopardy or Wheel of Fortune, right? Two of the longest running game shows of all time. Wheel of Fortune isn't just about flipping over the letters. It's the wheel. It's the anticipation, the sound of the wheel. It's the people clapping. It's the names in front of you. It's Pat Sajak and Vanna White. It's the whole thing put together that makes this experience. How can I create something like that? Even on some minor level, it could look like the bootleg thrift store version of Wheel of Fortune or Jeopardy or something. How can I do that? One of the things I did with my kids, though, is I have kids study stuff. And then what I want them to do is I'll have my kids study for 5 minutes the first time, right? 5 minutes, put a timer on your phone, put noise canceling headphones in or on, and you're not listening to anything. I want you to just study for only 5 minutes. That's it. The end of 5 minutes, test yourself. I want you to make 2 piles. Make a pile of this is what I knew and got right, right? So if I'm doing index cards, let's say, here's what I got right. If you're doing it on a piece of paper and you're covering the answers, put a dot, a highlighter dot next to the ones you got right. And then here's what I didn't get right. Then I want you to take only 2 minutes. That's it. That's all you're allowed. 2 minutes to study again what you didn't know. And the idea here is, how do we get more things from the I don't know pile to the I know pile? And it helps kids to see that in these very, very manageable, small, doable chunks of time, we can move things from this pile to this pile. So that's what I'm doing with my own kids. I want it to seem like it's the easiest thing possible. So that's maybe what I'm doing in class. So that, and the reason I'm not giving really, really specific answer there is because subject matter is going to change. So if I have vocab, I might go over my vocab my reviews that I used the week before, right? Don't be afraid to like just reintroduce and do stuff before. But remember, like when I'm doing vocab, I'm putting up a meme or a GIF, and kids have to connect a word to that one that's up there. I'm doing a music video or a song that students have to infer what is happening on here, and then what word does this connect to, and then I'm helping them to make that connection. I just reuse that stuff the following week when I'm helping kids to review before retaking an assessment. And amen to you. Retaking assessments is so important, and I realize that we can get so mad at kids that they just didn't do well, but I think building in a safety of you can fail, just retake it. And I'm not so much about test corrections there. And look, if you're into them, it depends on more like how you're doing it, but allowing kids to reassess, some kids just take longer, right? They just like take a longer time. And actually, what I was going to say to science is cool as AF is really looking into like getting clear on a number of learning differences, and really being able to take your content and like, how do I teach this to a visual learner? How do I teach this to a kinesthetic learner? How do I teach this to a kid that might have a processing delay or dyslexia or whatever? I don't think that stuff is seen or looked at enough, unless you have someone in your family that has it, like unless you know someone. Yeah.
I won't even comment on that one, because
just put it out there, babe. Just sprinkle a little bit of out there.
Yeah. Okay. Hayden is up next, because that subject can just go on for.
This is an incredibly passionate subject for her. That is why.
Because both of my children have learning differences, and I see how it impacts them in a classroom, especially when educators haven't updated practices or are unfamiliar with it completely, and it's a thing.
Or your school model doesn't do that. So anyway, that's something we could have a whole rest of the time on that
podcast episode about. Okay, so Hayden has a great question. She's asking, I have found out that one of my students is speaking negatively about one of the close friends in her trio on TikTok. They are only 12. This has me upset. Any advice on how to address or teach this? That's a tough one.
I'll tell you how I would do it. I love this. I love when I have to make this separate. I'll tell you how I would do it, Hayden, and then how a lot of schools would probably, what's other like good ideas too. I am all about the conversation. Finding a way, a safe way to have so what I mean when I'm saying safe is like, right. So we have a 12-year-old girl. I want to find a safe location that I can have like an intimate conversation with someone.
Not a 12-year-old girl. There are 12 people in the friend group. And one of them is speaking negatively about
okay. I thought they were 12.
No,
and
they don't
either way. I mean, whether they're 6 or 18. So it's finding a place to have this conversation. We had a room in our school that was a conference room off the main office that had a glass door. And it was great. I love glass doors because it also lets you see how mad a parent is before you walk into that meeting and go, all right, okay, here we go. I'm ready. I'm getting ready. Okay, now I can walk. I can hook myself up. So what I want to do is have the conversation. Hey, here's what I'm hearing. And why does this matter? Right? Be ready for why does this matter? You're a school teacher. You're teaching math or whatever. Why do you care? Why is this? This doesn't have anything to do with school. This is me outside of school. And it has everything to do with it because school is all about community. School is about you're making life choices. I see you a lot. I care about you. I can't separate the things sometimes. I want to see you win in life. And the way that we win is not by tearing other people down. So what even happened? Because what you're doing is filling yourself up with the negativity of others. That what feels like affirming is you're affirming based on hatred and disrespect. And I don't think that's who you are, right? Like I realize that this is hard, but let's address it. Let's figure out a real way to address it, not online. Also, I would tell my dudes, like, that's cowardly. What are you doing? So that's a dumb idea. So
they are 12. Sorry.
Okay. So, all right. So maybe I wouldn't say dumb to a 12-year-old, but I certainly would do it to a high schooler. It is helping them to see from someone that's a trusted voice that they might, especially if I have a connection with a student, I'm going to do that. Now, if I don't have a connection with a student, but I still think it needs to be addressed, I'm going to find someone in the school that is a trusted individual that's going to affirm what I'm saying or back me up in these meetings. Aside from that, I want to make sure that I'm contacting parents. I think that I cannot tell you how many people I talk to that don't keep parents in the loop because they're afraid of what's going to happen. The bottom line here, gang, is that they're not your kid. They're somebody else's child. Now, if I think a kid is going to catch a beating over something, if their parents are verbally abusive, I'm going to make sure I tell social services or a school counselor or someone like whoever's in that position at my school as well. And then it's like letting other people know too, right? So like I'm not about like the reason I love gossip. I love finding out the gossip is because I can help. I don't find it out so I can go, yo, did you hear what happened? They're like trashing that girl on TikTok right now. I am going to go tell all the other teachers on my team so they know. So they're on the lookout. So if they see snarkiness, they see certain behavior going on, they see tears one day or slumped shoulders or something like that, everyone's in the know. Why? Because we want to be in your business? No. I'm a grown man. I don't need to be all up in your 12-year-old gossip just because it's fun. I'm up in there because I care about you. I care about the students and it impacts learning. So I want you to, I don't know why I just said learning like that. That felt weird, but I want you to be the best that you can be. And that has to do with character also. What are our school values? What are we looking for? So I'm getting people in the know. But that first Reynolds piece that I don't know that schools would necessarily tell you to do is like, I'm going to having this conversation. I'm not just calling home. I need you to know that I think you're wonderful, but I also think your friends are wonderful. And I think the way that we really deal with things in our life is by learning how to have difficult conversations, not putting someone on blast on social media. What even is that? Might seem fun. People liked it. It got love, but all you're really doing is saying what kind of person you are. Like, so it's helping kids navigate that and grow out of that.
Yeah.
Congratulations to you for even like
wanting to approach the
There's tons of teachers that are like, nope.
I didn't see that. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
Because it's hard. Because it's a whole other level. Because it's outside of school. It's happening online.
They're kids. They're not my kid. I teach math. It's like
no, but in all honesty, it is. It's they are children, right? So it's someone's job. It's the community, whether it's the parent, the teacher, the whoever is around that's in that child's life to help teach them that like, hey, yeah, this isn't how we handle problems. Like if you have a problem with the student, maybe we need to address it or whatever it is, or just understanding that people grow apart. We're not all going to be friends forever, like whatever it is. But
let me say this. I don't want to make I don't want to say mountain out of a molehill. I feel like this is a timely thing to say, though, is that when we have things happening in schools, whether it's severe bullying, it's online bullying, school shootings, whenever something severe happens in a school, right? And this could be anything from like a student taking their own life to students that I've had that drug abuse, alcohol abuse, cutting themselves. It is, in retrospect, I feel like somebody always saw something, noted something, wasn't really sure what to do about something. But it's like at the airport, man. If you see something, you got to say something. And every single thing that happens doesn't end up becoming, I'm not saying that like bullying always leads to whatever, drug use, school shootings, self-harm, but everybody out there has been, everyone watching this, I guarantee somebody in high school or middle school said something to you or did something to you that you remember still, right? Like you still remember
Yes.
Those things that kids said, that thing that someone brought up about you. That when Dan Donahue told me that I waved my arms weird when I walked down the hallway, I started walking like this for like a long time because he put me on blast. Do you think Dan Donahue remembers that? He has no idea. I don't even know if he was meaning to be hurtful. But I have a laundry list of those things that I'm a grown man. I'm almost 50 years old. And I still remember 12-year-old CJ being, 13-year-old CJ being like someone saying that. It sticks with you. Or you better back up and not look at my arms. But we are talking about an age that's so impressionable. You're really taking this a different way right now. Because you're just thinking about all wiggly arms.
I'm having a little fit of the giggle, sorry.
It is, maybe that's good for alleviating tension in this particular moment. But like, it's really never turn your eye. Always check in. Always ask questions. Always look. I'd rather say something than not. Because then kids know, we don't talk with like people don't just drop stuff in my class. Even teachers know I don't do just talking trash. Don't come in my room and talk trash. I don't even want that energy in here, man. Because if you say something, y'all know I'm going to go tell that person you just said it because I'm not trying to work in that environment. Yeah.
All right. Next up is Doug. Teaching undergrad class on methods. I retired after 34 years in a middle school. Bottom line, what do you think all teachers need to do / say in an elementary classroom?
Oh my gosh. Doug, that is a lot I could say for that. So I think it's really, all right. So let me try and pare this down to not 75 things. I think we give kids the present of our presence, right? That's the first thing I think of. Really being there, really listening, not talking to kids like babies, not talking to kids like they're beneath us and we're above them and we're in charge. But one of the greatest gifts I was ever taught was just by watching. My Aunt Kath is like an older sister to me. And one of the things that I realized is that she always like everyone that was younger than her always gravitated towards her more than anybody else in my family. And one of the reasons I realized that was that she gave you the present of her presence. And she still does this. And when she's talking to kids, she'll squat down, even though it hurts her knees now because she has arthritis. She'll squat down or she'll sit next to you or she'll lean in and really want to listen to what you're saying. And then she like cares, asks follow-up questions, right? It's that idea of really treating kids like they're equals on some level, right? Like, so are we cognitively equal or emotionally equal or age-wise? No, but you are a human being and so am I, and I want to listen to you because you're telling me this thing that matters to you. The other thing is We have to teach the kids that we have in our classrooms, and not just the kids that we thought we'd have or that we wanted to have or that we dreamed of having, that everybody has the right to a free and appropriate education. And we don't do that for students. We give them the education that the textbook tells us to, that the curriculum tells us to, that we always had when we were growing up. And it's really helping to meet those students where they are. And it's putting on the yoke, that burden of sometimes getting them to where they need to be, because sometimes that's hard work. I think it's helping school to come alive, right? Like, it's really making school awesome. Realizing that differentiating your instruction isn't something that's just a requirement. That helps to meet different learning. I'm forgetting the word, but like, all kids are learning different. We want to meet all of those different needs. And what was the question? All teachers need to do or say. And I think it's telling kids every single day that they matter, right? I would tell kids, I tell my students I love them. I've realized that is not a word for everyone for 1,000 reasons, and you don't have to say it. But telling kids that they matter, I may have mentioned this before, but my buddy Neil Gupta talks about this idea of how everybody should say hi to every kid that they can every day, and using their name if possible. I try and stick out. I make nicknames for my students and they love it. But that was just my way of not just having it be the same thing every single day. Here's why that's important. Neil talks about this idea that what if your kid had to walk to the bus, take the train, take it to another bus, and then walk to school, right? Like many of my students had to do. What if they're the only one that's in their house? What if mom or dad had to go to work early, and after that hour and a half, even they've been up for 2 hours, you're the first person that said hi to them? I don't want a kid to go. They've done studies that show that some kids can get to the end of the school day without anybody saying their name. Like, what is that? So I want every day, as many kids as I can say it to, let them know they're awesome. I'm so glad you're here. You really matter to me. You make class better every day that you walk in. You make the room a little bit brighter. The energy shifts. I have to have something good to see in every single child every single day, because I need them to know beyond a doubt that they matter, that they're important, that they're worth it. And damn it, I'm so glad that you're here today. Maybe if you're teaching little kids, don't say damn it. But maybe, I don't know.
I think not.
You think maybe not? Okay.
Wrong button.
Right. They're on YouTube. They're hearing all kinds of stuff.
Okay, John Fox is up next, asking,
Mr. Reynolds told me, damn it, you matter. I need to call Mr. Reynolds right now.
I mean, can you really get mad at that? You said you matter. John Fox is asking, what are 1 or 2 simple life hacks that you've learned in the past 5 or 10 years that have been complete game changers for you in terms of self-improvement, productivity, and time management?
Johnny Fox, I'm going to tell you right now. 1 or 2, bro, this is my jam, so what is a life hack, first of all, right? I'm not just trying to make things easier. I'm trying to be more effective. 1 is I paid a lot of money when I didn't have a lot of money to get a really good bed. And then I optimized my sleeping experience. So did I look up this bed? No. My wife does all the reviews, all the reading, but we have some absurd, organic.
We have 100% latex mattress.
Yeah, there it is. I'm not sponsored by this video. So I bought a really good bed. I still have crappy pillows. I don't really know what that's about. And I make sure my room is completely dark when I sleep. So every light on a TV, on a charger, on everything is blacked out, right? What does this do? It has made the quality of my sleep so much better. And I've seen that, especially as the older I get, is getting all the high quality sleep that I can get. That's number 1. 2, I would say, John, that tracking things that are important to me has had the greatest impact. Those of you that follow this channel know that I track a lot of things. I just use that Most of it, I just use a habit share app. I'm not affiliated with them or anything like that. It's completely free. And I just track, did I exercise today? Did I meditate today? Did I take my supplements today? And it changes all the time, right? So right now it's like, and it's not about getting 100%, right? So like I've been reading the Bible. I've been reading the Bible more in the last year than I ever have, like like on purpose in my life. Because I'm trying to read through the whole Bible very slowly. But it allows me to see, like, do I have 11 days in? Do I have 12 days in? And I don't get to do it every single time. Like when I'm traveling, it's hard because I have to read it on my phone. It's a pain in the butt. And my mornings are crunched. But as a rhythm, I find that like reading the Bible is one of those things that like I have missed days, but I've definitely built that rhythm in. Praying and meditating every day, spending at least minimum 10 minutes of quality time with my children a day. So when I'm working, when I'm away, like I'll be away this week for speaking, I still connect with my kids. I call them. We do a room tour of my hotel every single time. I find little things. I think those two things, because the tracking allows me to identify what's important in my life and then make sure that I'm doing it on the regular. And then I'm not just thinking like, oh my gosh, like I never spend time with my kids anymore. I don't read the Bible as much. I haven't exercised in ages. I can look and go, all right, it's been a week, but it hasn't been ages, right? Like it's been 7 days since I've had a workout or something like that. It helps you do that. And I'll tell you what, now my workouts, we're coming up. I think this week we're going to hit 400 workouts, me and my son, without missing a workout. 400 workouts, which is crazy to me. John, I'd have to damn near be dying for me to miss a workout at this point. I would rather do push-ups on the onboarding ramp to get into the airplane than to miss a workout at this point. Because 400, I'm like, I know at some point there's a really good likelihood that we're going to miss. I don't want to, but I think those two things have been my best.
I would say also just knowing
there's a lot.
These aren't hacks, but it's like, I think you start to learn them more as you get older. Things like boundaries in place, knowing like the more you learn about yourself, the more you can like.
How do you work better?
Yes, exactly.
So like,
it's like putting in boundaries that like to other people, to yourself, like that make you work the best. I think that's to me, it's like understanding.
But there's a million
yourself.
of them, right?
Yeah,
and some of them are age range too. Like at our age, getting rid of gluten, huge, yes. Right? Like getting up without going, right? Like it's just that little one. That's the noise of death right there, folks. Walking down a step and not feeling your knees swelling. You get rid of gluten, bro, you're welcome. And I'm not even gluten intolerant or anything like that. I just married someone that became such.
And I'm not even anymore. Okay, let's
still feel it. You have some bread. The next day you're like, oh, feel that.
Yeah, but I'm not gluten intolerant. Like before, it used to like literally make me sick in my stomach for like 4 days. And that doesn't happen to me anymore. But when I do eat gluten, I can feel the inflammation. Like that's gluten, sugar, grains. I got a lot of things.
All right, let's move on. We sound like senior citizens now.
All right. Okay.
The kids with their gluten. Just have yourself a Werther's Original. Move on.
No, don't eat that. Liz is up next. She's saying, I haven't connected in so long. How do you introduce your classroom library to students? I want my 9th to 10th grade, intermediate, ESL, ELA students to start reading more.
First of all, Liz, welcome back. I love seeing names that pop up again. I hope that you're having a wonderful year and that your year went great last year and you had a great summer and all that stuff. So how do we get classroom library? How do we introduce it? One, we make it look attractive. We got to stop. If this book is like this on a shelf, I'm not picking it up. When I can see the artwork, when I can see the author's name that maybe I like, when I can see something that looks intriguing, I'm picking it up. Sometimes books, especially when we're doing picture books or children's books as part of a unit, I'll put them on my shelf like this. I want them to be open. I figure out a certain page that I want open because I want kids to see the artwork. Especially young adult books are made to be judged by their cover, right? It's why when you go to the bookstore, they're all facing out, right? When you buy a book at Target, I don't think, unless it's backstock, Target has all their books cover out. I want kids to see that. Also, can I have interesting bookshelves? Can I put something interesting on a bookshelf? Can I light the bookshelf? Can I make it look like something kids want to go over to? Can I spotlight certain books? So maybe unless you have a very small classroom library, you do need to put some books where you're just going to see like the profile of them just for the name, for the sake of space. But can I have certain ones standing out? Can I have a ledge in my room, or maybe on my whiteboard? Do I have like books that I'm reading? I often would have like a picture of a book or a copy of it up of a book that I'm reading right now on my board. I'd come in and talk about reading all the time. All right, listen, y'all, before we get into this, I want to tell you about this thing I was reading in this book. I want kids to see me reading. I want them to get excited about reading. I want them to, like, reading is a thing we talk about all the time after we read each time. So I do independent reading with my students as often as I can during the week. I read with them. The research shows that by sitting with our students, we're modeling, we're showing what it's like to be quiet, we're showing what it's like to get into a book. I then talk about my book when we're done independent reading time. I then ask other kids to talk about what's something that happened in your book this week. Tell me about did imagery show up? Did illusion show up in your book? So I'm asking kids questions like that, getting kids to talk about books, getting kids excited about books. That's what I want for students, that's how I get them excited. And then can they pick things from your library? Can they pick what goes into your library? Can you order books that they want to see in your library? These are all good ways to like make it so it's not just this once a week or once in a while thing that we do, but it's like, oh my gosh, reading is such an integrated part of my life that I just can't help but talk about it as much as possible. And then we're really creating readers like that as well.
Absolutely. The teaching romance, asking, this might be a dry topic, but I'm wondering about how to properly protect any school-related data. Password protect, keeping it only on an analog/printed form. I plan to use an external hard drive.
Password protection, we use Dashlane.
Well, tell them how we came to Dashlane.
We came to Dashlane.
And don't use a person's name.
No. I had an assistant that said I had weak passwords. I said, girl, you don't know what you're talking about right now. Like, what are you even saying? It has numbers and characters. And she's like, first of all, you reuse the same password like 49 times. Like, be creative. She said, this is really what happened. I have a friend who's a hacker. I said, come again? I have a friend who's a hacker. I guarantee you they can get into your Gmail. I said, bet, go for it. Friggin' 30 seconds later.
Done.
I said, what do I do? She said, you need to have better passwords. So I use an app called Dashlane. I think it cost me $9 for the year. You can set it up so that, like, instead of Google saving your passwords, Dashlane saves my passwords. They generate my passwords. They let me know if I have any reused passwords. I can also connect notes and so I keep
we have everything in there,
all kinds of family information that's in there, from like my known travel number for when I do whatever the hell that thing is at the airport when I get through faster. It is all kinds of stuff in there. And so you have to make a mega password that protects that. But then once you're in, you have access to all your stuff. I love it. I think it is there's different versions of that. That's the one that was introduced to me and that the hacker told me I should use. But so that's how I do that stuff.
And they suggested not to use analog, because that's how I used to do it. I used to just keep all of my passwords on this one piece of paper, and I was advised that that's really not good to do.
Well, if you don't have the paper, if you lose the paper,
yeah,
right, it's a nightmare.
Your whole world is in there. And what was advised to you to make the master password? Can you share that? Like, or is that?
They said, no, figure that out, because I don't want to give this information up.
Okay.
But I will say, I had another assistant that said, like, don't keep your tax information, your contracts on something like Google Drive. Google Drive should be more of something of like, if someone got a hold of it, like if they got I don't know, it's not end of the world, but
put your
keep
lesson
those
plans
on
there, but put your other stuff like sensitive.
Yeah.
On a hard
So
drive.
any kind of like personal like stuff from school, even keep it on external hard drive. And so I'm sure there's tech people out there that know ways around even some of those things, but that's what I found to really work. And it just helps my organization too. I don't like when Google Drive has too much stuff in it. It's like we have 2 parts to our pantry. This makes us sound really bougie. It's a closet, gang. It's not really like, but you slide this door open. This is stuff we use every day. You slide this door open. It's all backstocked stuff. We have an extra freezer in the garage. Same reason, right? I like my Google Drive to be like my freezer. The only stuff in the freezer is stuff I'm using like on the regular. Backstock stuff goes somewhere else. And I think of external hard drives in the same fashion. It just takes up less mental space. Like I'm not going through looking, there's not 49 folders in there that I have to look through all the time.
But Dashlane is like, I was so against starting Dashlane. I was like, oh gosh, another thing we have to learn, another piece of tech.
It is
the
well
best.
worth the 10 minutes it's going to take you to learn how to do it.
It's super great.
It's friggin' awesome.
Okay, Heather is up next asking, what have you found to be the most helpful to help your 9th graders transition out of middle school mentality into a high school? My 9th graders are pretty immature this year, always need tricks.
So I'll say this first, Heather. One of the reasons I like teaching 9th grade is because I like to leverage that immaturity. Because along with immaturity, right? Like, and look, you can't read a book and they're like, it was raining hard and it's giggles all. It's like, oh my gosh, right? Like the ground was soaking wet. Oh my God. Like things that like, but if they said, all right, so I'm going to say it like this. If they say, but like the actual word, like he sat on a thorn and it hurt his butt, probably no one's going to laugh. But if they say like, they went to the store, but they forgot to bring. It's like, oh, it's like so dumb. But if they say the thing, no one laughs. If it's alluded to, it's hilarious. I leverage that because there's a level of playfulness in that too that you're not going to get from older students. There's something that happens in my experience in the end, towards the end of 9th grade year, and definitely going into 10th grade. There's this huge jump for boys, especially in maturity. Part of that is just, it's the age. I like to leverage it because I like to use the playfulness of it. The way I kind of help that along, because I don't so much mind immaturity, silliness, saying dumb stuff. It is when it gets us off track, right? It can go too far and like I can't get through what I need to get through. And it can be hurtful, right? So like I make fun of kids all the time. I make fun of students relentlessly, but I never do it to hurt someone. It's always from a sense of play, of being silly. So like I even find that, so when I'm doing it, kids are trying to do it all the time too, right? But I get to help them navigate that. Like there's no cheap shots. I don't do cheap shots. If a kid is overweight in our class, you're not making fat jokes. If a kid, just like if a kid had a patch on his eye or had to use braces to walk or something like that, like those are like, we don't make fun of things like that. That's a cheap shot. I get to help navigate kids through some of that space. It's a pain sometimes. I try to look at it as an honor of like, I get to help you navigate this tricky time in your life where most people are just going to get mad. Most people are just getting pissed off. Most people are just sick of it and tired of it and don't want you to stop. The way I get them to just stop sometimes is, all right, listen, y'all, we got to have a real conversation. And I talk to them like they're adults, not like they're children, not similar to what I said earlier, and not like they're beneath me. We need to have a conversation right now because what I'm seeing in here right now is a lot of immature is a lot of hurtful behavior. Jokes aren't meant to, I know you can hurt people with jokes. I know there's full YouTube channels and people that they make a living off of this. I'm just not down with it. It's not going to happen in this classroom. This is a safe space, because once we take safety away, we take the ability to learn away. Once people don't feel psychologically safe, they don't do as well in work or in the classroom. This is what the research says. So we're keeping that psychological safety intact here. It's important. Or we're getting too carried away. I realized that it happened and it was hard. I realized it was super hard. It was the hardest thing they'd ever experienced in their life. I realized, and then everyone's giggling and stuff. I need you to pull that back in, because what we're doing right now, this is getting in the way of learning, and learning's the number one thing in here. That's why we come to school. And you're the thing that matters the most. So I need you to bring it in. All right, rein it in. I realize it's funny. Take a breath. Can we get past it, please? So we can get into this thing. And if we can't, then maybe you have to read on your own. If we can't, then maybe we have to shift how we're doing something. If immaturity leads to we can't get through what we're getting through, I can most certainly, not because you're being bad, because you're not learning, we're not going to do the activity. We're not going to do the reading aloud together. We're not going to read this as a play. I want you to read it by yourself, because I need to get through this. The reason I'm making it fun is to make it, it's like a painkiller for what we're doing. If we can't do the thing, if we can't do it this way, then we're just going to do it a different way, because the end of the day, I need you to learn this. So but I talk to them like they're grown when we're doing something like that.
Okay. The next one, we'll answer one more because we're getting close to an hour. David is asking or saying, I made the leap from 5th grade ELAR to 9th and 12th grade ELAR, which means 120-minute classes to 45-minute classes. Do you have any tips for incorporating reading and writing in a 45-minute class?
I think, David, oh gosh, this is a great question, man. For me, I had 45 minutes is just shy of where I'd like to be. I found that 50 to 55-minute classes were my jam. Learning longer than that is too long, right? The research shows that it's 50 minutes is that sweet spot when we're teaching anyone. So even when I do, when I go and teach teachers, I try and keep it at 50 minutes and do a 10-minute break, and then do that however often I have to do that, unless we're doing some really energetic activity. Things can go longer. I would rather, for me, I'd rather do bits a day than have just days dedicated to that. So actually, I do it like this. So every day there's journal writing in class. It is not a long activity, but it is requiring students to write 5 to 8 sentences at the beginning of class every single day, right? So we're building in that rhythm. It gets easier and easier, and I can get kids to write longer once they get used to 5 to 8 sentences, because I'm going to teach them how to build that out, how to pad that writing, how to add far more details and be far more specific and tell a better story. But then we read every single day in class. Sometimes that's 10 minutes. Sometimes it's 20, 30, 40 minutes, right? So it depends on what's needed for the day, but I try to touch each thing each day. I'll tell you that when I look at things like vocabulary in class, I saw vocabulary scores skyrocket when, instead of doing vocab reviews every other day, giving the words on a Monday, reviewing right before the test on a Friday, instead I started doing 5 to 8 minute segments every single day. The scores went skyrocketed from that. Reading ability, the ability to stay with reading even when it's boring, right? Even when you don't love it, building that sense of, I know everyone hates the word rigor, but it's there. Building that sense of rigor into your reading ability, and we do it every single day, right? Studies also show that how do we get kids to do better at math is by having them do more problems, right? Doing sheer quantity will help the quality go up. And now, that's a whole nother conversation. I don't mean to simplify that concept that small, but it is trying to get bits of stuff in every day. So every day we're reading and writing It's just some days the writing's a lot more and some days the reading's a lot more. And we go back and forth based on whatever it is we're working on right now. So if we're working on persuasive essay or narrative writing or something like that, of course, that's going to take up more time. I still want to make sure we're reading every single day. That's how I found a lot of value in that, because what I want to stay away from is kids going like, it's like when I bring reading back, I don't want them to go, oh, reading again. It's like, no, we need to be reading on the regular, especially for my struggling readers. We need to be doing that stuff regularly.
All right, I'm going to make you answer one more because I like this question. And I just caught my eye as I was scrolling down.
Said, make you do one more.
I'm going to make you. You have no choice. Kelly is asking, question as a parent,
yes.
How do you help your personal children enjoy school and keep a good attitude? Sometimes being in the private school setting has led to high anxiety and old teaching styles present. Part 2, this has led to mom guilt and feeling bad for pushing them to persevere.
Kelly, I'm going to tell you that my wife could have just had a pseudonym made up where she just called herself Kelly and then inserted this exact question.
Could be why this one caught my eye.
Yeah.
Especially the private school, because we are in a private school.
And kids are in private school.
A lot of old teaching.
Let's talk about, I want to say why that is real quick.
Styles.
I used to think that private school was just for rich kids. Still is. Not just for them, though. But when you move somewhere and you have zero confidence in the public school, you bite the bullet. And that's another weird saying. You bite the bullet, though.
I wouldn't classify myself as rich in what people think rich is.
Zero. No.
Not.
So, but it was it's like, I'd rather eat top ramen for the year, though, and send my kids to get a better education. However, we are learning that private school is absolutely old school, with a lot of teachers, old school teaching methods. Like, read the book, then they do all the questions and quizzes and all the crap at the end of the chapter. Oh, what the heck? What? Anyway.
That being said, we know a little bit about how to keep our personal children enjoying school and persevering.
But that's hard too, I'll say, Kelly, because of the work that I do. That the people that my kids see me getting down with, doing podcasts with, connecting with, talking with, supporting their book, they see what school could be.
It ends up showing them some of the best in the world of education.
So my buddy Dustin taught for several years at the Ron Clark Academy. And Ron Clark Academy was on Mr. Beast video. Dustin was in the video in the background. And my kids are like, why isn't school like this? I'm like, the school's like this for like zero kids, right? Like, except for the kids at Ron Clark. But so that is difficult sometimes because they see what's available. Yeah. And then they go to their school. Now, look, my kids I like the school that they're at very much. I like their schools that they were at last year as well very much.
We've also learned being on this end that there is no perfect school.
No, I haven't.
We could talk about that on.
They at least aren't asking for my help, so I don't know. But how do I get them to keep interested? I try to make the homework a little bit more interesting. I try to I do the work, and I'm already thinking about it now. Brody's in physics this year, and I'm already thinking of connection. How am I connecting things he might be interested in when he brings something up? When he told me the other day that they're reading Romeo and Juliet in English, guys, I got so stoked because I'm already thinking I'm going to be doing these low key things that I want to help you with at home, or conversations we can have, me talking about how this is interesting. I think that's a little bit of it. But I think the other thing, Kelly, is helping my kids. My daughter just really doesn't like school. It's helping her to see what the game of education is, that there's a game to this too, that there's opportunity on the other side of this, that there's value in doing hard things. Yes. That not everything will be fun. Can you show up? How are you going to make it fun? And my kids get tired of hearing this, but with the exception of working at Taco Bell was the first job I ever had, and it sucked. I hated it. I stayed there for 2 months and I quit. I didn't have the capacity yet, though. Every job after that, I figured out a way to make it fun. I gamified it. I made silly things. I did dumb stuff. And I also tried to be the best worker that to this day, I'm telling you, I was the best worker that ever worked at Home Depot in college. There's never been anyone before there's still a training video out there that features me in it, being captain safety. And yeah.
I know. I laugh because I know
it's
this
my
video.
legacy right there at the Home Depot universe. But it wasn't, working at Home Depot is not fun. I don't think there's probably no one ever that worked at Home Depot I worked there for 10 years. No one that has worked there sustainably that just said this is a fun job. I made it fun every day. I want my kids to figure out how to make things fun, figure out how to make things interesting, figure out what are you bringing? Stop asking the teacher to bring everything every day, right? That class sucks. How are you looking into that a little bit more? Asking interesting questions, showing them that you're fascinated.
So that's what we teach our daughter, right? She is that kid that is like, I don't know if it's the age, we're about to turn 15, or if it's just school, right? It's just boring. I don't know which one it is, but everything is like
a little bit of both.
Everything is that.
What is
it? For her. So it's like, okay, well, what shifts can you make? What can you do? Like, you don't like your art class? Like, well, can you ask to do something different? Can you ask to have a free Friday? Like, maybe there is flexibility in being in a private school. So it's like, maybe you have to share more of yourself, your interest, who you are. Like, and other kids go to school for, like, yes, the education part you'll get just by doing the work, but like, they go for friends, right? Well, maybe you have to build your friend network, like, and that makes school
get involved,
fun,
do stuff
right?
that's
like,
cool. That's
maybe
fun.
you have to join volleyball because. Do you like volleyball? Are you going to be a volleyballer? Do you want to go play volleyball like in the Olympics or something? Like,
did anyone ever
probably
identify
not.
themselves as a volleyballer? What do you do? I'm a volleyballer.
But like, no, you're probably not in any of those. And I get it, but there's friends, it builds connection. Like, maybe that's an avenue that you can explore. Like, so it's encouraging them in what ways that they have power to make it better, or a shift or a change. Is really like all that we have found. And then the other part is like, man, let go of that mom guilt, because I get you in it. Like, I hate that we do what we do and it exposes us to really great educators out there, because it impacts our kids. Because then my daughter is like, well, why can't my teachers do any of that? And I'm like, look, like, we're hoping to inspire teachers to change, to make better lessons or more fun in class, but like, that's not happening right now for you. So, but you have to make do, and you have to learn how to do hard things. It's part of it. And then just letting go of that mom guilt of like not being able to fix it for them, and just knowing that like, nope, this will serve them well. Like, going through things and hard things builds character.
Two things. One thing you remind me
very
of,
parental
I want to
answer.
give you credit for this. My wife always kind of reminds me in so many words that, but your kids are blessed to have you.
Yes.
The fact that you came on and asked this question, the
or
fact that you're thinking about it,
the
thing that you're not just like, just go to school. Who cares? No one likes school. Just shut up and go to school, right? The fact that your kids have you, they're blessed. Yep. Even if it doesn't feel like it right now, and they certainly don't acknowledge it right now, right? That's one thing. The other thing is, if you think back to when you were a kid, there's all kinds of things that were hard that, damn it, I wish my parents made me still do it. My parents didn't hold me accountable for my grades. I wish they had. My parents didn't make me keep playing piano. I wish they had. My parents didn't care that I got out of Spanish class or that I cheated with it. Like, there's certain things they just didn't care about. And because it made it hard for them too. I don't want my kids' tears or fears.
Oh, man.
To let me get them off easy. I, of course, want to be sensitive to their needs, to what they are wanting to grow into. But in retrospect, I have to remind myself, no, I wish my parents. So like this year, my kids are not allowed to bring home less than A's. And I have reasons for that. And we talk about it. And it's not just about the grade. I want to see the effort. I want to see how hard you try on stuff. I want to see you grasp. I want to see you impress you. And because I've seen that as a teacher, when kids can do that, and I know what my kids are capable of too. And it's like, it's setting the precedent because I want my kids to grow into all that they can be and not have any limiting factors. So there's a lot of that kind of in there. I realize it's a very full answer, but thank God your kids have you. It's wonderful. And thank you so much for asking that question.
All right.
Are we good?
We can be done now.
Okay. You don't ever remember how to get to the end.
I don't.
There.
Well, that's your thing.
Gang, if you need anything else, please hit us up. Remember, we have mentoring. If you go to the website, realrapwithreynolds@gmail or realrapwithreynolds.com, you can sign up for mentoring. Get your school to pay for that, man.
Yes.
If you want to have me come speak to your school, get your school to pay for that too. And just send them the email and get me out there and I'll come and we'll spend the day together, an hour together, whatever. I would love to do that. And I hope that you have a wonderful week. Thank you so much for being here. And thank you so much for caring enough about what you do and about yourself to show up to stuff like this, gang. It really means the world. Anything else?
Nope.
Cool. See you next week, buddy. Peace.